Welcome back to Bernat.com. Today we're going to be learning the knit stitch. It's the most basic stitch of what you need to learn to knit, and I'm going to take you through it step by step and show you how easy it is to do this stitch. In no time at all, you're going to be knitting like a pro. So let's gather up our supplies and we'll get started. You're going to need a ball of yarn and a corresponding pair of knitting needles. Today I'm going to use Bernat Super Value as my yarn. The ball bend recommends I use a size number 8 knitting needles, and you can find out that information here on your label. As you can see from the label, the Bernat Super Value is a worsted weight yarn. Worsted weight falls roughly in the middle of the category of yarns for thicknesses. It's a good choice for you to practice with. You can definitely pick a thicker yarn such as Bernat Softy Chunky, but I wouldn't go with a thinner yarn until you've had some practice. Also, try to stay away from really fancy yarns that aren't smooth. I know they're really tempting because they're really beautiful, but you want to be able to see your stitches and your tension. There's no point in frustrating yourself. Okay, now that we have our supplies together, we need to start with 10 cast-on stitches onto your needle, and then we're going to start our first knit stitch. Okay, so today we're going to be doing our knit stitch. And I have 10 cast-on stitches here on my needle. You can have as many as you want, but today I'm working with 10. So what I want you to do is hold your needle that has your cast-on stitches in your left hand, and I want you to have your empty needle in your right hand. So what we want to do is we want to take our right needle and hold it on this side of our first stitch, so on the left of it, and we want to kind of poke it through that loop. I don't want you to go in between your stitches. I want you to actually, and I'm going to try to show this to you, see how I can kind of show you the loop. I'm going to go right through it, underneath and behind, so that I kind of create this X with my needles. So I'm going to show you that one more time. I'm actually going to put my needle through that loop to the back. You want to go from the left side. So remember, it helps you if you start your needle on the left of your stitch and go in and through. So when you're getting ready, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to wrap our yarn around our needles. But when you do that, one of the tricks to do is to hold your X with your finger and your thumb. That way it gives your right hand freedom to work with your yarn. Now, when you work with your yarn, I want you to make sure you're not using this, your yarn tail. I want you to be using your yarn that's attached to your ball. That's called your working yarn. So, I'm going to let go of mine so that you can see what I'm doing. What I want you to do, and it's the same wrap we learned when we learned the cast on, you want to wrap in a counterclockwise movement. So you want to go behind your right needle, around to the front, and then you lay it down sort of in between your two needles. So let me show that to you one more time. So you take your working yarn, you go to the back behind your right needle, come around it and wrap it so it lays right between your two needles. Then what I want you to do is to take your right needle and actually pull that wrapped yarn through to the front. So let me show that to you. I'm actually going to wrap around again, and I'm going to pull that loop with the tip of my right needle through to the front. Then what I want you to do is just gently, this loop that's on that we worked through, this one on your left needle, I want you to actually drop that off. I know that's kind of scary to do, but I promise you it's the right thing to do. Okay, let's do this again so you can practice some more. I'm going to walk you through it again. So what I want you to do is to take your right needle and place it through the loop. So remember, we start on this side, the left side of our loop, and we bring it over and we go right through that loop. So we have it there. Now, we want to make sure that we're making our X at the thick point of our needles, not at these tips here, because your stitches will get too tight if you're working on the points. So I want to take my yarn that's attached to my ball, my working yarn, and I want to actually wrap it around the needle exactly like we did last time. So you want to start on the right, you want to go behind your needle, and you want to wrap it right around. Now remember, you can have your fingers pinched like this to help you hold your needles in place, but I've let go so that you can see what I'm doing. So let's do that again. We're going to wrap it around from the back all the way around to the front in a counterclockwise move, and then we're going to use our right tip and bring that wrap right to the front as a loop. So we can see that we have 9 stitches on my left needle and 2 on my right needle, but we're working with 10 stitches, so we got to always have our number add up to 10. So what we need to do is slip that extra stitch, or that stitch we were working on, off our left needle, and then we will end up with 8 loops on our left needle and 2 on our right. We want to start on the left side of your stitch. I want to go through our loop to the back, and I want to take my working yarn and I want to wrap it around my right needle, the one that's on the bottom of that X. So we're going to wrap it around like that, bring it to the front, and then I'm going to use my right needle to slide it down and to pull that loop up through to the front. I know it seems awkward at first, but I promise you it's going to get easier. So remember that loop that we just worked through? That's the loop I now want to slide off my left needle. So I'm actually going to pop it right off like that. Okay? So there's no sort of right or wrong way to be holding your hands. It's just going to be whatever starts to feel comfortable for you. At first it's all going to feel uncomfortable, but I promise it does get easier. So here we go again. We start on the left side of our loop. We want to go through, under that needle, through that loop and to the back here. And again, we want to make sure we're working on the thick part of our needles. We want to take our yarn, we want to go around the back to the front, and we want to use our right needle to pull a loop up to the front, just like that. And then we're going to slip that left loop off. So let's do one more. Here we go. So we've inserted it in, and we want to wrap our yarn around our needle, and we want to use our right needle to pull a loop through, and then we're going to slide that right off of our needle, just like that. Okay, I hope you got that, but if not, I have a little rhyme that's going to help you, especially when you're on your own knitting, and it goes like this. All right, so this is how it goes. You want to go, the little rhyme goes, in the front door and out the back, around the flagpole, and out jumps Jack. And then what you want to do is you want to slip that off. So here we go again. In the front door and out the back, around the flagpole, and out jumps Jack. And then we slip off of our left needle. That should help you remember it, right? It's so silly, you can't help but remember it. So in the front door, let's start from here. In the front door and out the back, around the flagpole, and out jumps Jack. And then we slip off. In the front door and out the back, around the flagpole, and out jumps Jack, and slip. So now we're at my last stitch here, my 10th stitch, and I just wanted to mention that you treat this stitch exactly the way you treated your first stitch. So we're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to do in the front door and out the back, around, oops, and I just want to mention one thing, and I've just seen it right here, is my stitches are starting to get twisted around my needle, and you just kind of want to have this ridge lined up here at the bottom. That's the end of your knitting there. So here we go, our last stitch here. In the front door and out the back, around the flagpole, and out jumps Jack. And we want to slip that right off our left needle, and now all your stitches should be on your right needle, and your left needle is actually empty. So now that you have all your stitches on your right needle, you're going to want to start your next row. And all I want you to do is to take your right needle and actually turn it around. So we're going to turn it around like that. And now this is going to become your left needle. It's actually going to be held in your left hand. And see, I have my yarn tail that we had from the beginning, and this is actually my working yarn. So I'm going to actually use the needle that I was using in my left hand. I'm actually going to use it in my right hand, and then we're just going to start knitting exactly like what we did for all the other stitches in the last row. So I'm just going to show you one here. We're just going to wrap it around there and pull it through to the front and slip it off. And that's all there is to when you finish your row and to start a new row. Okay, so we finished our first row, and I want to show you when you knit every row what it looks like. You get what's called a garter stitch, and the garter stitch is the same on the front as it is on the back. And that's it. Officially, you're a knitter. Pat yourself on the back. This is a big step. Pretty soon, you're going to become a pro. All you need to do is practice and practice. Don't worry if you have tension issues at first. Everybody does. It takes practice. Don't give up. I promise it's going to get easier. So that's it for today, but I just wanted to mention that the next thing that you need to do is you need to learn how to cast off. You want to get that knitting off of your needles. So be sure to check out our other online video tutorial at bernat.com. See you again.